Welcome to the Azeron Software Guide. Visit azeron.eu/downloads and get the latest Azeron software. Install it on your PC. Plug the keypad into the PC using the provided USB cable. Be sure to plug the USB all the way into the keypad. Once done, the LED light will turn on. Launch the Azeron software. It will automatically detect the keypad. Two profiles are available in the onboard memory, OBM, of the keypad. Switch between profiles by pressing the profile button on the keypad. The active profile will have a check mark next to it. You can create more profiles that will be stored in the Azeron software. Software profiles will only work when the Azeron software is open. Press Add Profile. It will copy the currently selected profile. You can name the profile whatever you like, within the character limit. Click on Next to the software, and then click on Activate to switch to your software profile. Mark two software profiles as your favorite to switch between them by pressing the profile button on the keypad. For this feature to work, make sure to switch to the software profiles, not the OBM. You can copy a software profile to the onboard memory by clicking one of the corresponding buttons. To remove the software profiles, simply click on the Delete button. Now you can set up keybinds to your liking. Choose a profile and activate it by double-clicking it or pressing the Activate button. Pick a key and choose a method to activate your bind: single press, long press, or double press. Single press keybind will execute immediately on button press. Long press keybind will execute only after the delay that you specify. Double press keybind will execute after the button is pressed twice. For now, we'll choose the single press. Select Keyboard and press any button on your keyboard. You can drag and drop the binds to swap one for the other. To remove the bind, right-click with your mouse on the button. You can clear all your binds for the specific profile by clicking on the Unbind All. If you choose the long press function for your bind, be sure to specify the trigger delay. For the double press, you can adjust the trigger interval. You can bind several input methods on a single key. Leave the check mark on the single, long, and double press. Select the input device and press a key on it. Note that the icon will contain a symbol indicating what type of input method you have chosen for your key. If you're using the single click and the long press modes on the same key, there may be a small delay for the single click keybind. The shorter the long press delay is, the shorter will be the delay on the single click keybind. If you specify a very short delay, then there's a chance that the long press will be executed unintentionally when you actually expect to have a single click keybind executed. It is possible to bind a combination of keys. Click a button in the Azeron software, choose Keyboard, press a key, and on the Waiting for Combo Keys prompt, press more keys to bind a combination. Thumbstick can be set up as an Xbox 360 joystick, direct input joystick, or keyboard keys, for example, WASD. The Xbox 360 joystick will work the same as an Xbox 360 controller analog stick. It has 360-degree movement and analog capabilities. If you move the thumbstick a little, a character will walk slowly. If you move it to the edge, then a character will start running. This mode will work with any game that supports Xbox 360 controller and can work together with mouse and keyboard binds. If a game doesn't support simultaneous input or supports only partially, you can always set up an analog stick with keyboard keybinds, such as WASD. Direct Input Analog Joystick mode will work as a generic joystick analog stick. It will work in games that are compatible with other controllers, not only the Xbox, but the same as with the Xbox 360 analog stick. The game has to support simultaneous input. In keyboard mode, analog stick will work in 8 directions with keybinds provided for 4 directions, such as WASD or similar. You can adjust the angle of the analog stick, lower and upper dead zone, and sensitivity in the thumbstick menu. By tweaking the angle, you can adjust the forward direction of the thumbstick. The lower dead zone is an area in the center of the thumbstick that won't recognize input if the stick is moved within it. The higher the value, the bigger the circle in the center where the thumbstick movement won't register. If the lower dead zone is set to 0 or a very low value, then the thumbstick may be too sensitive to micro movements. It may have a flickering motion in the Azeron software, and a game character may move around even if you're not touching the thumbstick. Set the lower dead zone value higher until it stops moving by itself. 10 to 65 is a common value. The upper dead zone is the outer limit where the joystick movements won't be registered if they exceed this value. If you're not sure what dead zone settings you should use, simply calibrate the thumbstick in the Azeron software. Refer to the calibration section of this video. The lower the sensitivity value is, the more sensitive is the thumbstick. Common values are 3 to 10. Azeron keypad is compatible with game consoles. If a console game has a mouse and keyboard support, simply plug the keypad into the console and change the input device to keyboard and mouse in the video game options to get WASD movement with the Azeron. You can use only onboard memory profiles when using the Azeron keypad with a home console. If a console game does not support keyboard and mouse input, or you'd like to enjoy 360-degree movement, provided the game supports it, you'll have to use third-party hardware, like the XIM adapter. Make sure your game console supports such an adapter. Xinput allows the Azeron keypad button to act as an Xbox 360 controller button. Choose a key, pick the Xinput button, and choose one of the options. The software allows binding mouse keys on the Azeron keypad. Click on a button in the Azeron software, choose mouse, and pick a button, left, middle, right-click, forward, or back. In joystick button mode, the keypad will act as a generic controller button. If you're using the Azeron keypad on consoles through the XIM or a similar adapter, then you need to set up all buttons as joystick buttons. In the joystick D-pad mode, the button can be set up as any function of the directional pad, up, right, down, left, and diagonally. For example, right up or left down. There's only one thumbstick on the keypad, but you can set up a button to switch between 2 thumbstick settings. Choose a button in the Azeron software and press Toggle Analog. Go to the thumbstick settings. If the thumbstick is set up as an analog stick, it will switch between the left and right stick of the controller. If it is set up as a keyboard, WASD for instance, then you can set up keyboard buttons on the second thumbstick. For example, QWES. You can bind different keys for the left and right analog sticks. Now press the bind and the software will switch from one joystick to the other. You can also toggle right and left joysticks by pressing and holding a key on the keypad. Simply press a button in the software and choose the button Toggle Only on Hold. The second thumbstick settings will work only while the button is held down. bind the mouse wheel directions on your keypad. Choose a key, select mouse wheel, and adjust the sliders to bind the direction of the mouse wheel. Software profiles also support layering. You can dedicate a key to switching to a specific profile. Choose a key in the Azeron software. Choose Layering. And pick a profile you wish to switch to by pressing the key. Now, by pressing the bind, you can switch to the specified profile. Switch on to dedicate the same key in the second profile to switch back to the original profile. If you want to access the second layer buttons only while the bind is being held, press Toggle on hold. Software profiles support macros. When choosing the macro mode for the button, it is possible to program several keyboard key presses, mouse buttons, and delays in the sequence you wish. You can also choose how long the key is held down and set delays in milliseconds. There are several options you can change in the Azeron software user interface. Go to the Settings. Switch on the lefty layout. You can choose to hide or show custom button labels. Click on a key and name it as you see fit. It is possible to show or hide keybinds together with custom button labels. Switch on and off the LEDs on the Azeron keypad. Increase or decrease the brightness. Refer to this section to check the current app and device firmware version. You can opt for the Azeron Software beta version as well as enable auto-update of the software. You can export your profiles for backup or sharing purposes. It is recommended to export them before updating the software or firmware. Adjust the button throttling. Button throttle helps with accidental or ghost double presses. It determines the amount of time that must pass before the key can be pressed again. Choose between two methods: default, which measures the time between button presses, or the one that holds the button down to prevent double presses. You can also reset the analog joystick calibration or recalibrate it by pressing one of the corresponding buttons. Follow the on-screen instruction to calibrate your thumbstick. Reset your device. Software profiles or software settings in this section. If you decide to reset the device, it will delete all of your profile data in the keypad. Should you experience any troubles with the software, you can export logs, email them to Team Azeron, or describe what happened and how you made it occur. The more details you include, the easier it will be for the team to reproduce and fix the problem. Once done, press Save.